right, shall we get started?
Yeah.
All right, let's look at some pictures. So, as most of you know, we have 3 judges each month. Tonight, we have Josh Baker, Gary Hook, and Bill Bunton. And as always, I'm super grateful to these guys and the ladies who participate that really, do us all a great favor. And but furthermore, it's really good for their experience as well. They will judge the basic and intermediate divisions. As we've been doing in this year, the advanced division is going to be judged by the single PSA judge. So we'll start off with the basic group, which has 18 images. We're just going to go through them in order, give everybody time to look at them. And then the judge will go through them again, and each judge is going to comment on 3 images that they picked to talk about. But all images, when they go into the hopper, they all have critiques and scores that are available to look at on the website. So if you didn't hear any speech about your image tonight, you can go see what people thought about it when you go to the website and review the images. So let's go with this. I'll start off with the basic group. First image is Hook 'em. Hemingway's chair. Huh. Cedar waxwings. City by the Sierra. Maroon on blue. Time through his eyes. Day's end. Be like the sunflower. Aguilar's pick pack number 2. Melancholy. Which way to the airport? The irony. Hummingbird nestlings getting ready. Sunset over the Palouse. Corpus on the horizon. I've been hosed. Twins. Shine bright. Okay, so now we'll go through them again with the commentary and Hook 'em. I think Gary, no, Josh.
Yeah, it's okay. It's me. I knew who it was. I think first off, I really love the toning of this image. I feel like it's full screen. It is full screen, right? I just, I don't know, the vibe, the color, I really enjoy. I think that's all good. I think keep working on that post processing and keep that like color going, because I think it's nice. Like it's really like as it comes through, kind of reds and oranges, it comes through pretty well. I would also say that I think either the bob wire or the WeSatch would be okay, but having both is distracting. Now, obviously, you're on the other side of the fence, so probably the bob wire. And then for me, I want to see, I don't know, maybe one tip or maybe the other. I don't have to see both, but one tip, right? It's a very centered photo, and so maybe explore kind of where to put our subject to get right. Imagine the subject was on the far side of one frame, and then we had one of the tips coming in. I think that'd be a more dynamic composition than just longhorn and straight in front of us. And then it would also be able to show kind of the massiveness of one of the horns, right? So as a way to just add some asymmetry in there. Other thing, I think if we got a little bit lower, the eye line of the bull here is right in line with the horizon in the background. Can you see the background, kind of that eye level going through there? And so getting just a little bit lower would bring it up above. And so it's up into that negative space of the sky instead of competing with the detail in the horizon. So it's just those little things as you're shooting. But yeah, I think just a little bit lower, maybe to the right or to the left, to get one hook or the other. I think that'd make it a more dynamic image for the viewer to see. So,
thank you. I think you should have put a little SEC in the eye, but that's just my opinion.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Next, Hemingway's chair. No commentary tonight. Cedar waxwings. City by the Sierra. That's Josh again.
Yay, me again. I think this has kind of a great tonality to it in terms of like oranges and blues. And it's got this kind of cool like ray going across the middle of the mountains right there. And you can see it at the very tip of one of the buildings, right? So it's very interesting moment, right? I think this is one of those photos where when we're starting out, right, our instinct is correct. Our instinct to take this photo is the correct instinct at this time, right? We have cool blues in the bottom of the city. We kind of have this orange streak going through the middle. And then we have, really lovely clouds up top. For me, the way something like this could be obviously improved, I feel like the city is competing with the attention of the clouds and it's not necessarily harmonious. We don't know if we should be gazing upward and kind of following the clouds up, or if our attention should stay down in the city. To me, this is one where a crop could come in and decide for the viewer what to see. I think taking down maybe that top 10-15% of the image just above that main cloud would reduce some of the escape routes for our eyes to see, right? So some of the problem with negative space can be that it gives our eyes a place to leave the photo instead of forcing us to examine the photo. And so bringing the photo down just a little bit, maybe 10% or so. And then in the city, we really get kind of our darks are very dark to the point of being blocked. So either like a radial or a gradient tool in Lightroom to bring up that bottom exposure just to give it enough detail where it doesn't black out. I think this is, if you took this into a print, those blacks wouldn't, they wouldn't be your friend. They'd be solid black with no detail. So just bringing those levels up at the bottom so that there's a little bit of detail. There's not a lot. I don't mean for it to be like crazy HDR where everything's got a bunch of shadow detail, but just enough to get off that black point, I think would help this out. So a little bit of a crop, a little bit more, just a little bit more exposure at the bottom third of the frame. And then it's going to kind of force our viewer to kind of look back between the mountains and the city, and then just have that cloud as kind of the cherry on top.
Thanks. Okay. Next is maroon on blue. Time through his eyes. Gary.
Make sure I'm unmuted here. Okay. I find the tones in this fabulous. I loved the range of light. I think the contrast level is completely appropriate for this. I really enjoy the crop since he is wearing a hat that obscures his head, we can crop off part of his head, and we get to not worry about that. I really enjoyed the loss of his shoulders to the white of the background without it looking like there's a white vignette here. So I think that was very well done. The way the toning on the sweater and the skin works together. Well, the sweater with the background and the skin, I think all is just very, very, very effective. I love the expression. I love the plane of focus. I'm not loving the eyes. My admiration stops with the eyes. I understand that the intent was to composite the clock in there. I'm not getting the title because I'm not seeing what he's saying. I'm seeing his eyes. And so I'm not experiencing what the title implies he's experiencing. So I don't find the title effective or successful necessarily. The eyes themselves, I don't find successful insofar as they lean towards, for me, zombie eyes, which I've never personally, I've never cared for. It's a thing for me, and I admit that. But I find that the eyes and the eyelashes, both the top and bottom, are come across to me as over sharpened. So they're abrasive compared with the level of detail that exists in the rest of the image. And the sclera of the eyes, I think, is over whitened. I don't think that the eyes should be quite that white. And so I am not a fan of the effect here that was created by the work on the eyes. I would like to see the eyes as they were shot because I'll bet they're gorgeous. And you can do great things with eyes in and of themselves, but that to me, I think would create a more successful image overall. But there's so much about this that I think is just really well done. And I'm congratulations to the maker in so much of this.
Okay. Day's End. Be Like the Sunflower. Aguilar's Pickpack. Melancholy. Which Way to the Airport? Bill. Bill.
As soon as I can find my cursor and unmute.
Okay.
I absolutely love this image. Somebody knew what was going to happen and got in the right place. Not only they were in the right place, they could pan and keep the plane sharp and blur the background. It just says speed all over it. But kind of on the other side of that, the plane is more than halfway through the frame. It doesn't have a lot of room in front of it. I'd like to see that. And I fully understand this is next to impossible to get because it's not like shooting at the racetrack where they come by every lap and do the same thing. This is one opportunity for this plane as he comes by. The other thing that could be improved is to slow down the shutter even more. If you look at the prop, it is not a full arc. It doesn't complete the disc of the prop. You've got to have really good panning technique and a slow shutter to get that done. But one thing that can be improved in processing here is to get the colors of this plane to pop a little bit more. I know that this owner has bright oranges and yellows, but still just an absolutely stellar capture.
Yes, indeed. All right, the irony, Gary.
Okay. Where to start with this? I think this is an exceptionally successful photograph image. I do. I love the black and white processing. I think it's very appropriate. I think the subject matter is well found, well seen. I think that there's a lot here to ponder. The figure, the sculpture figure on the bench versus the live human on the ground, to me says a lot. I just think there's this image speaks volumes in so many ways. I would love to know. I would love to know what the maker of the sculpture would say about this image. I really would, because I think they would have a hard time feeling good about it, frankly. The tones are great. I love the contrast level. I love the detail. I think it's all very, very good. I don't know if I saw what it was shot at, but I like the depth of field throughout. Technically, I think it's just very, very well executed. For me, my eye finds the wall on the right distracting. It's white. It's the brightest thing in the image, and that's a problem for me. It shouldn't be there if it's not the subject of the image. So what I would suggest would be to crop out about 10% on the right side, kind of bring that into at least a gray wall. If not, maybe the dark area or the medium gray wall. And then also probably a little bit on the bottom. I don't know that the bottom is necessary to the image either. So I think there's some lower right that we could bring it in. I think kind of tighten things up a little bit. Possibly a little bit on the top too. I'm not real sure, but the horizontal space between the end of the bench and that, I keep thinking that's a segue there, and I know it's not. But whatever that thing is next to the suitcase, that's the focus area. I want to see more of that. A mild vignette might help to darken the edges on this image to make sure that our eye stays in the center. I think we could have done some dodging and burning on the sculpture and done a little bit of work on raising the shadows in the dark areas of his legs and the shoe, the blanket, everything on the bottom. So that we focus on the two figures. Even though we look around and we see stuff in the rest of the frame, we want to keep coming back to those two figures. And to me, the message is the contrast between them. That's the story here. But yeah, bravo to whoever found this. I think it's extremely successful.
Okay. Next is hummingbird nestlings, and that's Josh.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite quotes in photography is your photos aren't good enough, you're not close enough. And so I think this is a great example of getting right in the face of the action. I'm guessing it was shot with a long lens and then probably cropped in some just based on what it looks like. But still, it presents an image to the viewer that is right in their face. Like there's no denying what the subject of this is. And there's no denying what you're supposed to be looking at. I love the pink of the beak, I guess. I don't know, whatever those protrusions are coming out of their faces. But that's super cool, right? That we have eyes, we have beaks, and it creates this kind of nice V shape where the eyes are lined up in a V. Like that's all working really well. I think the hard part to this photo for me is that it did so many things right. But then there's these two really bright hot spots in the background that it grabs your eye. And so even though we know what we're supposed to look, even though we know what we are supposed to be looking at, those out of focus hot spots are just grabbing for our attention. And that's what, I think when we talk about when we see other birds or flowers and we talk about distracting backgrounds, this is why it's so hard, because one little out of focus bright spot magnified at 800 millimeter becomes this really big glare against the subjects here. And it's one of those things that photography, I think that's what makes photography so hard, is that you can have 19 things go right, and then you can have one element kind of go off a little bit, and it kind of shoots an arrow through the rest of them. And so that's the hard part for me. So I like everything else that's going on. I like that the tree kind of has this like in and out wavy feel to it. It's even cool, like the nest. I don't know what's going on with the nest. Like, it almost looks like confetti. I don't know. It's really cool. I don't know if those are leaves or like actual paper. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I don't study birds very much. But I just think that's kind of neat effect, because it's not like twigs and sticks. It's paper of some sort, or very interesting bark. I don't know. But I like the eyes. I like the feathers. I like the beak. Even the color of the beaks against the yellows and greens of the leaves is all good. Just those blown highlights is just something that's so hard. Again, if you're going to take this and make a print with it, especially if you're doing something like a metallic luster or something along those lines, and you hit those highlights, it creates an ink island. And so where the rest of the image would have kind of a shimmer or sheen to it, in that ink island, none of it lays down. And so as you would look at it, you could see where it didn't lay down ink. And so as we're getting more prints ready, just something to keep in mind, where our highlights are, where our shadows are, and, try not to block them out, try not to over peak them, especially if you're going to take it in and make a print with it. So.
Cool.
Bird nose. Yes, it's called the bird nose. Yeah, great.
Next is Sunset Over the Palouse. And
I think I have that one, Mark.
Yep.
It is just beautiful landscape photography. Somebody put the effort into getting at the right place, the right time of day, and the right time of year. And then they had the blessing of the sky and the sun. I just love the way you can almost track the rays of the sun down to the areas of green they're illuminating. They seem to illuminate the house and the fence. But my eye keeps wandering off to this bright spot in the center top. And I think the image could be stronger if we lost that upper part of the sky, kind of between the rays and the dark spot or the bright spot above that. But it is just stellar. The upper third of the frame doesn't add that much to the image. I want to get to the blues and look for an opportunity like this.
Yep, it's beautiful. Okay, and we have Corpus on the horizon. Wrong screen. Okay. I've been hosed. And twins. Bill.
Again, yes. I love Bambi. This is a real nice use of depth of field and tack sharp focus on the deer themselves. I love it that the background is fully out of focus, and the very leading edge of the foreground is not as sharp. So you're really driven to look at the three deer. But as you look at the three deer, I get lost in the legs. And if the creator shot this the way I would, might look around for a frame just adjacent to this, where the legs aren't quite as confused. It'll make a much nicer image. The other thing that would improve this as you're looking at adjacent images is a little more space in front of the trio as they move off to the left. but just tack sharp. I like it. That's it.
And the last image in this group is Shine Bright. And Gary?
That would be me. I really find the limited palette here very successful. The use of yellow, a bit of orange, tinges of brown, and the black, I think is really nice. I find the focus very successful, very effective. The lots of details in those petals, all the way from about 5 o'clock all the way around to about 7 o'clock is all pretty clear. So I had to go do some Googling. It turns out those little yellow things in the middle are also flowers. This particular type of flower, one of several, this daisy is actually consists of more than one flower. It's the big flower and then little flowers. Oddly, I did not know that. So when I talk about the little yellow spots and I say flower, that's what I'm talking about. So the tiny flowers in the center. I love that the maker found what looks to be a spiral type of configuration. Those guys erupt randomly, I think, generally speaking, and I really appreciate the shape that they create there. For me, it draws me in and encourages my eye to examine that center area of the flower. Okay, going back to the petals, I appreciate the petals as a framing device. I'm not entirely on board with the gap at the bottom. It's too centered for me. And so continuing on with what Josh has mentioned, if we take that and we rotate the entire thing, get that empty spot in a different area where it's not balanced, we might make the image a bit more dynamic. I think also that the two bright leaves and the two bright petals in the lower corner, the lower right, keep competing for my attention, and yet many of the petals throughout the rest of the larger petals throughout the flower are not as bright. So I would encourage the maker to brighten the outer petals up and even them out. Some there's enough there to hold substance. You've got the orange towards the center. You've got the detail, the texture in the petals. Brighten them up and even that out so that if you're going to use it as a frame, use it as a frame and make sure everything is comparable. I agree. I recognize that a lot of this is based on the direction of the light, the direction of the flower, because we're not obviously looking down at the flower from 90 degrees. I get that. So I would encourage the maker to explore that a little bit more. So I think they had a nice specimen here that warranted some working with to find just the right way to present it. But overall, I think it's a very successful image. I go back and forth on the black outline. You've got a 2x3 frame here. I think it's a 2x3. You've got a 2x3 frame here where everything is black in the background. And I'm not a big fan of that sort of thing. Flowers in space are just kind of okay for me. In this particular case, I would suggested maybe a 4x5 crop, possibly even a square crop with again, making that bottom of the flower off kilter a little bit just to add some dynamic element to this whole thing. That's a preference thing. I'm not saying that you should do this. I'm saying it's a preference thing, and it's me. I get that, but overall, I really appreciate the way the maker has encouraged us to dive into this. I would like the shadows brought up in the center more. I'd like to see more detail in the center of the flower rather than quite so much blackness. As I think there's a lot there to explore. But overall, I think well done.
Okay, thank you, judges. We will move on to the judges' picks. I hope I did this right. Let's see. Yep, we had 18 images, so we're going to have 3 places and 2 honorable mentions. So starting with the honorable mentions, first is Melancholy by Sabrina Lunsford. Beautiful image. Great expression. Next is Hummingbird Nestlings by William Ling. It's a good first entry. Right off the bat, he's already taken home the prizes. Louis Abelafia, Which Way to the Airport? There's a story there, Lou. Tell us. I know he's here tonight. I'll catch up
This
with you.
was,
Okay, good.
yeah, I had to unmute there. This was taken in San Diego. The Red Bull air races came through. This was downtown San Diego. I was across the bay in Coronado. And as was indicated by the person who did the critique, you don't exactly have a lot of time to shoot these puppies. So I was more concerned about getting the aircraft sharp than about blurring the aircraft and letting the prop come up. I have others that probably do that, but I thought this was a more dramatic example. They did have several rounds of this, but you never quite knew which aircraft was going to take what route to go through the pylons. I don't know if anybody's ever seen air races, but that's what they're doing. They're lining up to go through some pylons in which they have to sometimes go from horizontal to vertical in a very short period of time to get through the pylons. But I love this kind of stuff. It's a challenge, but it's so much fun. And I've got some stuff from Blue Angels similar to this, but this was downtown, kind of an unusual background of having the buildings behind the aircraft.
Cool.
So I appreciate the kind words and the third place.
All right. Next is The Irony by Delaney Van. Delaney, is she here tonight?
I'm here.
Oh, great. Well, where'd you come across this?
It was in downtown Austin, and it angered me when I saw it. I didn't really want to take a picture at first. I don't like to take pictures of homeless people. I think it's kind of disrespectful and doesn't do anything to help them, and it's kind of an easy target if not done right, in my opinion. And but I couldn't walk away because of the message that it was sending. And so I finally took the picture, and it still just speaks to me.
So is that a sculpture?
It is.
Okay. I wasn't convinced at first that it was sculpture.
I contemplated between black and white because when it's in color, it's obvious that it's a statue, but there's a lot of colors going on in the stuff that he has over there. Like I think that's a purple suitcase, and the lime that's over there is like red or something like that. And there's something in the windows blue, and there was just a whole lot of really distracting color. So it was the lesser of the two evils, I thought.
Well, I certainly understand your ambivalence about the image, but it really is impactful.
Thank you.
And first place, Cedar Waxwings, William Ling. That name is coming up too often. William, tell us about this. This looks awesome.
Oh. Well, my wife and I go walking every morning, and sometimes I take the camera, and she had never seen cedar waxwings. It was a lifer bird for her, and there was a tree that was just full of them. And that is not a composite at all. They actually lined up that way. And because they were backlit, by the time I crank up the foreground brightness, it just took the sky to just snow white. So it kind of took that oriental watercolor look to it. But thank you very much for your kind comments.
It's really stunning. I really like the way that I mean, obviously the arrangement's fantastic, and the bird in flight at the bottom left is just the icing on the cake. Well done, well seen.
Thank you.
It's
All
a pattern.
right.
It's a pattern interrupted.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Notice nobody's looking at the poor guys. Like, I'm over here, guys. They're all looking away.
They're beautiful. I mean, they're beautiful
They
birds.
are. They're a really strange looking bird. They look like some sort of aliens from another planet. They've got this, really cool set of sunglasses on, and they got an attitude just sitting there.
Beautiful. All right. So we'll look at the People's Choice Awards, go through them a little more quickly here since we're starting to fall behind, but the People's Choice Bronze goes to the same image, William Ling, Cedar Waxwings.
Again.
Silver goes to Sabrina Lunsford for Melancholy. That's really a great expression. Just love it. And the gold goes to Louis Abelafia for Sunset Over the Palouse. Great image. All right, I'm going to move along here to the intermediate group. We're going to have 21 images. So judges will take it just a tiny bit quicker. We'll go with the initial survey here. One, Green Monster on Rose. Primary colors. Bluebonnet Overload. A peak of the Teton Peak. Courtship. Old School Cotton. Robin the Sheriff. Not in the studio. Large format photography. Energy Boost. Cardinal Launch. Echinacea. Broken Pastels. Water Weaver. God's Other Rainbow. Harmony. My Backyard Hummer. Violet. Walk in the Park. Verdant. On the Pond. Again, just proof that our basic and intermediate classes turn out some amazing images. Okay, we will do that again, this time with commentary. Green Monster on Rose. That's a green lynx spider, I think, or I forgot, some kind of lynx spider. I found one, I had to look it up myself. primary colors. And that is Bill.
Bill, this is just intriguing to me, and how the maker created it. It appears to be a glass sphere in the center that is inverting the other pieces or the colored dots and causing them to wrap. It's an image that is almost there. It just needs to be perfected because there's blown out spots in the blue here in the center, just a little over bright there. And the trail of blue spots is just a little bright to show the overlap that we see in both the green and the pinkish red. It's an eye grabber. It can be perfected into a little more time on the bench shooting this, and it would be absolutely gorgeous.
Okay. Next is Bluebonnet Overload. A peek of the Teton Peak. Josh.
Yeah, this is, I don't know. You see a photo like this, you're like, damn, I wish I was there. You know, it's one of those photos that I either wish I was there or that I wish I got to take. And I think that to me is a very high compliment. And I mean it that way. I wish I was there. That looks amazing. I love that it's black and white. I know it's weird for me. I don't shoot a lot of black and white. I shoot a lot of color. But I love a great black and white image. And I think it's done well here. We have a lot of tones, right? From like very bright white to like almost black, and like almost like every little gradation of light is in this photo. And I think that's really kind of a neat thing. You know, bad weather makes good photos also. So especially for landscapes, not so much for Milky Way, but for landscapes, bad weather definitely makes good photos. I think what's interesting about this photo, try to visualize this with me though. If you flipped it 180, the peaks would almost align. So we have like a diagonal starting from the right, and then a dip, and then a peak, and then a dip. And if you flicked it, it would almost be the inverse. I don't know. I think that's interesting. For me though, the one and only change I would suggest, I think there's I don't know, and it may not work as well as I think, but I feel like there's a little bit too much room above the top. Right. The title even says, you know, a peek at the peak. And so that should be our subject, right? It's in the title, it's the center of the photo, right? That's all there. And it's angling up, and then it's brighter above. And so our eyes tend to want to go to the next thing that's brighter. And so I think by bringing that down just a little bit of that crop, it's going to keep your eye more on the peak and on down instead of giving it a place to go up. But I love how like it starts kind of a low in the left, up, down, then up on the right. I wish my stock portfolio looked like this. But yeah, I love the texture and the colors and gradation, and I'm not colors, but just the zones of light, if we want to go Ansel Adams on us. But there's just all of it. There's blacks, there's whites, there's shadows, there's midtones. It's just really, really cool photo. I think everybody's gonna love this one.
Great. Okay. Next is courtship.
Every time I see this photo, dude, I got a fish. Dude, bro, what's up, bro? Dude, I got a fish.
Next is old school cotton. Oops, forget the right button on the right screen. There we go. And this is Gary.
Yep.
Gary, you're old school.
Just old, okay? Just I think there's a lot here to appreciate. I find the tones, the colors, the mood, the overall light very successful. I think that this image asks a lot of questions, which we want to try to find answers to. is this abandoned or is it still in operation? I mean, I'm assuming I'm assuming those are gin mills. I didn't pay attention in history class, so I don't really know what they look like, but I'm assuming they're mills, or gins rather. I think the lines created by the gins on the left leading to the back are very effective. And it brings us back to the back there where we're looking at that and going, okay, there's maybe another room back there. There's something going on back there. And then we land on that green, I think, barrel on the right there, to the right of center. And then we kind of come back towards the front here with this other barrel and this, what looks to be a step ladder on top of it. And then we look at the floor and we look at the floor and then we realize there's this thing hanging in front that's moving. It's like, what's going on here? This is so cool. And then I look at that window on the right. And, we're spending a lot of time talking about bright areas that drag you out of the frame. That is a bright area that drags you out of the frame here. It is not necessary. It is a significant distraction to this image, which is otherwise wonderfully successful. So I would encourage either severe burning or, more interestingly, I think, crop it out. I don't think it holds any place here. I appreciate a 2x3 format, but this has 8x10 written all over it. If you just take off that 15% and you've got, I think, a wonderful image there that just draws you in and just keeps you wandering around circularly in the frame and looking at all the really cool things here. Trying to keep it short. Last thing I would like to do is raise those shadows, especially that vertical area that's dark here on this right wall. I want to see more detail. So bring those shadows up so that we can just make out what's there. When it's lost in black, it's not interesting and it's not necessary. We don't want lost in black. And you can also say the lower left corner underneath the mills also need their shadows brought up. A tough environment to shoot in, I appreciate that, but a little bit of work in post can, I think, liven this up just a little bit more. But I found this very successful. I really did.
Okay. Next is Robin the Sheriff. And that is Josh.
I love this photo. Unabashedly, I love this. There's so much going on. So I know we have a lot of landscape shooters and bird photographers and all that, but what I want to illustrate with this photo is that the photographer had to convince or be convinced to take this, right? Either he rounded up, I say he, I have like 99.9% sure who took it, but either they were convinced, like they came to them or like, hey, we got a photo idea for you, or he was like, I got a photo idea, and then the effort to go and to pose them and to light them outdoors, like that, to me, I don't know, there's something in it that's so fun, and it's such a different experience in shooting landscapes, right? This one had to have persuasion happening, and somebody had to get persuaded to do something. And that is a skill that I think is underrated in our photography toolbox, is getting subjects to take our photo, or saying yes when a group comes up to you and says, hey, will you take our photo? We're going to do something really silly now. But somebody's getting robbed. We have this like Big John in the back. We have people getting held up. We have women with bows and arrows. And it's just all these bright, vibrant colors. And I would say that these bright, vibrant colors don't happen unless it is being lit. Because if you look at the day that this was taken, it was a gray, overcast day in the trees. And so a gray, overcast day in the trees is going to be very muted, and the colors aren't going to pop. So by adding that external lighting, it makes all of the greens, the blues, the purples, all those colors jump off the page, and it allows them, without having to use depth of field, by using light, we can bring a subject off the background by illuminating their color more than the colors behind them. And so even though there's a whole lot of busyness behind them, because our subjects are so much brighter, they pop off the screen, right? That's almost all you see. All your brain really sees is the color and the people. Now, what would I have done differently? Probably I would have gotten a little bit lower, so that I'm not shooting it, yay high. By getting lower, we're going to emphasize the road leading up to them a little bit more. We're going to make them look more heroic. And it's also a little bit easier to pose them. There's two people in the back that are getting blocked You can see their arms and gloves, but you can't really see them. And so by shooting longer, lower, and further back, it would make posing this group a little bit easier. The people on the outside of the frame, because this is shot, I don't know, my guess is somewhere between like 24 and 40 mil. They're kind of getting a little distorty on the edges. And by backing up and shooting longer, we're also going to get rid of some of the distracting elements. There's some things on the right, like a little blue house, and there's some like cinder blocks on the left. So by backing up, shooting longer, getting lower, we're going to make our subjects both more heroic, and we'll be able to kind of see them and pose them in a way that we don't have to make our screen so wide. So yeah, that's what I got.
All right, thank you. Not in the studio. Large format photography, Gary.
All righty. I did a pretty good write-up on this. I probably won't repeat everything I said. I like the colors. They are just on the edge of being oversaturated for me. I can't tell because the stain on that wood is what it is. I think the greens are honest, so I like the colors here. The lighting is, I'm not a fan of the lighting. It just, the way the light, which I'm assuming is sunlight, is falling on the camera is just, it's still mottled, and it just kind of doesn't appeal to me for some reason. I think primarily, I'll go in this direction here. I think primarily what I'm not sure about is what I'm supposed to be looking at. Because I've got those beautiful flowers. I don't know what that flower is called. I see it everywhere now.
Pride of Barbados.
It's a thing now. Yeah, it's now in this area. But so you've got those beautiful red, orange, and yellow flowers, blossoms back there against the green, which just makes them pop a lot up in the corner. Then you've got this camera sitting here, and you've got this rendered, or this projected image of one of the blossoms on the back of the camera, which I'm assuming is real. I'm not a large format photographer. I've never touched one of these to work with, but everything I've read makes me believe that this is real and was shot. This is all entirely done in camera. So you got this thing here. So am I supposed to be looking at the image in the back of the camera box? Am I supposed to be looking at the camera box? Am I supposed to be looking at the flowers we're taking the pictures of? I don't know where I'm supposed to go. And then amidst it all is this black tripod that just is a bit of an anachronism in a reverse sort of way that just feels out of character. It's a wooden camera. I want it on a wooden tripod. That's just me. Be old school completely. So I didn't find this particularly successful because I don't know what I'm looking at. My mind would go a different way if I were trying to emphasize what this camera can produce on that viewfinder on the back. I would have gone just completely different with this, but I won't. This is not really about what I would have done. I'm just saying that I would encourage the maker to have explored this a little bit more in looking at shallow depth of field, close-ups, details. I think there's a lot here that could be seen and taken advantage of, and I would encourage exploration to find so many different things here that I think are worth looking at, and then from that finding what your strongest image is, what your most successful image is. But I'll stop there. So.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Next is Energy Boost, and that's Josh.
All right, another yellow flower. I think this one is getting close, but not close enough. We see flower photos quite often, and to me, the very interesting part of this is this, like, it almost looks like an alien like landing site in the center, right? Something very, all that texture. And actually having the flower petals to me is distracting from the really cool part in the center here. A lot of times I talk about a hesitant crop or a hesitant framing, where it feels like it either needs to be further back or closer in. It's kind of caught in the middle of like, do I get closer? Is it close enough? Or do I pull back more? And this to me, the reason I want to talk about it is it feels hesitant in its crop. I almost want to go like another like 50% in and just get like the outer ring of the yellow, the inner ring of the black, and that inner ring of the yellow again, because that's the pattern, right? Yellow, black, yellow, and getting really close and showing all of that cool texture. And the petals get rid of like to me, they don't add anything. Like sometimes showing less makes the viewer work more and keeps the viewer engaged with the photo longer. And we're all competing for attention here, right? So that's a great way to kind of boost your rankings is, make it the photo that people stare at longer and make them kind of figure out what's going on here. What is this? Is this a flower? Maybe it is. And so by getting rid of the leaves, we're going to go into more of an abstract territory and less into another yellow flower picture. Does that make sense? So I think this is a good example of like that kind of in the middle, right? Either pull back and show the flower and all of its, right? Or come even closer in and really start showing off detail and really get all of that texture and color banding. I mean, I think so many times that the hardest part of photography is, right, we see these amazing scenes, we see all the stuff going on, and like picking out specifically what we want to show our viewers. And that to me is always been, the hardest part of everything is just how can I reduce it to the least amount to show, but still communicate enough of the story to make it interesting.
All right. Thank you. Cardinal launch. Echinacea. Broken pastels. Water weaver. Bill.
All right. This is just, as you get close to it, it just draws you in. You want to see what's in every little droplet, what's been captured. The front of the spider is sharp. You just dance around through the droplets to see what they're reflecting and see if you can identify the image. But that's the core of the photograph. And if you really get distracted by the bright spots on the outside, and I wrote that maybe vignetting, but I think probably the first thing that would really help this would be to just crop in on it. There's clearly sufficient detail in the image to come in closer to the bright white of the web and the spider and make it an even more dramatic image. I'd like to see more sharpness in the backside of the spider, but that's just for a single frame. That's really asking a lot. One option that would probably cure a couple of these issues is to get artificial light. Get the strobe to really put the light in the center of this image, and that will darken down the background so that you're not distracted by what's in the background, but just a beautiful macro shot.
Okay. God's Other Rainbow. Harmony. My Backyard Hummer. Violet. Walk in the Park. Verdant. Bill.
Me again. All
Yeah.
right. I love this pattern, but as soon as I start to the eye starts to circle this thing, you drop into this hole in the upper right-hand corner and the center right, just a little tighter, and you avoid that. Or maybe make it a little darker. This is an image I've seen many times, but this is nicely done. And you could do a little more on picking your plant. There's in the center, there's some damaged leaves. You could also just go fix those. But probably the most interesting thing from my point of view would be to look at this in a high contrast black and white, which I think it would really just grab the eye that way. Of course, you'd have to change the name of the image.
True. Okay. And the last image in this category is on the pond. And Gary, you have the final words.
Well, no, I don't know about that.
Silver-tongued devil.
Yeah, yeah. So, I see a number of ways this could be a more successful image. I'll start by saying I like the focus here on the large leaves. I like the fact that you can see the detail in the leaf veins, for lack of a better term. Which I think is very, very nice. I especially enjoyed the fact that there are different tones to those larger leaves, including one particularly dark one, which I personally find very interesting. I like the pattern in the water. Obviously, we're reflecting quite a bit of the sky. There's ripples going on, so there's a lot of action here, and I think there's an interesting texture created by that. I'm not a fan of how bright those ripples are, unfortunately, relative to the leaves. So I think in post here that there's some work that could be done to make the leaves stand out more and make the background fall back with respect to luminosity. And it would be a lot of work, clearly, because of masking and et cetera. So I don't know that it's necessarily worth it. It's up to the maker to decide. I find that the schmutz on that big leaf in the front left is distracting. And I find that the damage to the leaf in the middle is distracting. Right there on the tip, there's a big bite missing, what looks like a bite to me missing. And my eyes found those, and now I can't stop seeing them. So those for me are distracting. The brightest area for me is either at the top behind that large leaf or the little leaves at the bottom here. And the little leaves at the bottom do nothing for the photograph. They're not adding anything. And they also tend to merge with the water. So you've got all this brightness between the little leaves in front and the water around and behind that is competing for attention with what I feel the subject is, which is the large leaves. And so I would encourage the maker to consider a crop here. And we sound like a broken record tonight on cropping, but I played with this a little bit. And frankly, if you turn this into a portrait image, a 2x3 portrait image, and you crop to just encompass the large leaves and use those little flowers as a base, I think you come up with a much stronger image, even with all the other stuff going on. I think it's a better starting point, a stronger starting point. There's a lot of space here that we don't need. Visually, it's just not necessary. It's not important, and we want to lose that and tighten in on our subject. We can't go close enough, but we can crop to it. So I'll stop there.
Okay, thanks. Interesting ideas. All right, so let's see what the judges came up with. Armenia judges. So 21 images means there are 6 places. We have first, second, third place, and 3 honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is Jim McDaniel for Broken Pastels. Cool looking. Vance Strickland for Robin the Sheriff. Roberto White, My Backyard Hummer. Third place goes to Gene Thomas for The Water Weaver. Gene, I know you're here.
Yes, yes,
Well,
I'm here.
What would you like to say about this? This is really cool. I love the way
Oh,
those
goodness.
eyes, I guess those are the eyes looking at us.
Well, I intended for them to be the eyes of the spider, but I don't really know.
Oh, it could be mandibles maybe.
I think they're fangs.
Fangs,
Yeah,
okay.
I
Okay.
think they are, but it was just so intriguing when I got to look at it up close. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, those are just going to have to be eyes.
Yeah.
I was about standing on my head to get this photo. I was, in a patch of ground cover and it was next to a tree. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's water on the web and the spider is staying there. How long is he going to stay there? And I actually did use a flash, but apparently it wasn't strong enough to black everything out, or I don't know. I tried to get flash in there to make the spider show up more.
Well,
It's beautiful.
yeah, really cool.
It was one of those things. It just happened to be there and it caught
Yeah.
my eye and I'm like, wow, grab the camera fast.
Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, second place goes to Nick Grossman for a peak of the Teton Peak. Nick. You want to say a couple words? Or is he not here?
I just want to know where he was standing.
Well, I guess he's not here tonight. All right. And first place goes to Cheryl Callan for Courtship. A really cool shot. This looks like something you'd see on one of those nature, Earth shows. It's really nice. Is Cheryl here tonight? And I'm guessing not.
What kind of birds are those?
Dude birds.
Black crested white birds with black tails. No, I don't know. They're cool looking. I've not seen any of those before. All right. We'll go to the People's Choice. Oh, there was a tie for the bronze medal between Gene Thomas for Old School Cotton and Roberto White for Green Monster on Rose. Cool looking spider. Nick Grossman got the silver for a peak of the Teton Peak. And first place, or a gold medal, excuse me, goes to Cheryl Callan for Courtship. So a lot of agreement there with the judges and the people. Okay, last but not least is the advanced category. And as I said earlier, this is going to be this is judged by a PSA judge, Tom Savage, this month. And we'll go to initial survey. So we have 14 images in this category. First is Cala and Shadow. Dandy Lion. Breakthrough.
Move your mouse, Mark.
Oh, thank you. Breakthrough. Light in Grief. Wrap It Up.
Light or weak?
Hollow Rock of Lake Superior. Emerging. Coneflower pollinator. Cave of Wonder Star. Beeline. Split Rock Lighthouse. Splash and Dash.
Oh, I like that one.
Morning Mist. Holding Up the River. Okay. So what I'm going to go through these again, and I will show them with the critiques. Let's see if this works. Oops, that's not what we want. Not judges selections, survey with critiques. Here we go. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you guys read for yourselves. Everybody read at slightly different speeds.
Can you move the cursor, please?
Darn it. I did that for you, Alan, because I know you like to remind me.
Are we allowed to offer rebuttals at this point? No, it's a rhetorical question.
Oh, okay. Dandelion. Forgot to mention the name of this one. I can... Breakthrough. Sorry about that. Wrap it up. Hollow Rock of Lake Superior.
On this one, am I crazy in thinking it's like 1% to the left? Like it looks like it's level, but then it feels, I don't know. I may be crazy.
It's not level.
And Josh is sensitive.
I am.
The earth is round, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the curvature of the earth going off to the left.
That's a really, really wide angle lens.
Emerging. This makes me think of an alien movie. Coneflower pollinator. Cave of Wonder Star. Beeline. Split Rock Lighthouse. Splash and Dash. Morning Mist. Holding Up the River. All right. And we'll go to the judges' picks here. There were 14 images, so there are 3 places and 1 honorable mention. Honorable mention goes to Hatham Samarchi for Hollow Rock on Lake Superior. Very beautiful image. Third place, Gary Hook for Splash and Dash. Gary, how did you take this?
So I crew for a team yearly in Albuquerque. And so this was probably, I guess, 2 years ago, not 3, 2 years ago. This was the first time I'd actually been on the balloon when we actually went over the river. So it was really nice. We went down, got wet. It was really cool. So this is shot while I'm flying in the air with all the other balloons and just looking for things to take pictures of. Lots of really cool stuff going on. You can see the people down there. The balloons will come down and hover basically on the river, and people will come out and get balloon cards that balloonists carry with them, talk to people, get pictures with them, selfies and things like that. You can see kayaks on the river. People are down there having parties and stuff like that. So it's quite a big deal during Fiesta Week. Yeah, so volunteering my time to crew gets me free balloon rides.
Awesome.
And hugs from Dave.
Yeah, hugs from Dave. It's great. Really like that one. I love the perspective.
Yeah, agreed.
Second place goes to Dennis Bosserman for Wrap It Up. This is a great capture. Dennis, I know you're here.
I never realized that a fighter could shoot out a web like that. And I was just blown away when I saw this.
Wow. Cool. I don't think I've ever seen that in a photograph. That's really good. I thought it was it is a blur because it's a jet.
Yeah, it's a jet stream of spider web coming out. It was really wide. I thought they only had one thread going out, but
yeah.
So this was a whole new experience for me, but it happened in my backyard. A lot of stuff happens in my backyard.
It's a new experience for the bee too, I think.
Yeah.
What else happens in your backyard?
That is
Final experience for the bee.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. New experience for him too, but not so good.
That's a great capture. Well done. Jealous. And first place, or a totally bizarre image that we won't even talk about. Josh.
We know who did that.
Yeah. Josh, talk to us.
So it's obviously an inverted image, but it was shot to invert it. So if you turn your head, I had to have the model. We took, I don't know, 100 to try to get this right, where I wanted her hand just at the surface of the water and feet at the surface of the water, so that it looked like she was kind of going through a portal or I don't know, something. I was trying to get a little bit more of her reflection at the very bottom, but that didn't work out. But this is actually taken in Pflugerville at a friend of mine's pool here in Pflugerville. Yeah, right off of And then I did some pretty severe color grading and white balance because it was a kind of a gray, cloudy day. So it was a lot of work to kind of get the color right and to get the hair right, because from her hand that was close to the water, the white balance to her elbow shifted probably 10,000 Kelvin.
Wow.
No.
Was there a flash from the surface?
No, just daylight.
Just daylight. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. One times I didn't use a flash. I know. I've used flash underwater, but it's very hard to do well. Yeah.
Well, I think you got the desired effect. I mean, those bubbles, your brain tells you the bubbles are moving towards the top. And it just is, you got to do a lot of thinking. I mean, to figure out what's going on, but it's really got a cool look to it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun day. We shot for like 4 hours.
Ooh.
But not just her. I have to rotate models because they can't keep up with me.
Yeah, so we heard.
Yeah.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
To all of the winners. The people wanted to have their say, so we'll look at that as well. The bronze goes to Josh Baker for Cave of the Wonder Star.
It's just supposed to be Cave of Wonder. I don't know why it says. I messed that up.
Okay, good. That sounds better. That's a good crop there.
There's actually a person with a blue light wand and a person with a gold light wand. And then that's the base frame. And then it's about a 12.5-minute exposure of blue hour with the stars after that. So
it takes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I like the reflection of the stars, the star
trails in the pool.
Yeah.
So I had to flip the star trail file and then layer mask that in and then blend it.
Okay.
It didn't work. I was trying to get it in the bottom, but it didn't work.
Well, it's well done.
Thank you.
All right. The silver goes to Hatham for Hollow Rock of Lake Superior. I didn't see Hatham here tonight, but Hatham, are you there?
It's a Hatham seance.
Yeah. And people like Hatham even more for Split Rock Lighthouse. That's a really pretty image too. Well done. Well, folks, that concludes the August competition. Congratulations to all the winners. Many, many thanks to all the judges and to all the people who cast their votes online. More participation, the better. And really,
I just want to remind everyone that we have our third Thursday program, the 19th, with Mandy Lee, and Bill Bunton could probably introduce her as well. I don't know if she has a specific program title. Do you know, Bill?
It's Traveling in a Teardrop, isn't it?
She's got a great website. I put that URL in the email as well as up toward the top of the chat. She has a YouTube channel with her various things.
She's going to be getting us an outline this week so we can get it up on the website. She has just finished a major event in Colorado where they took over a whole RV park with just folks that came to be with Mandy and Kendrick.
Wow.
So
she does quite a bit of camping tips and the trailering tips.
Well, New Camp is one of her sponsors, the trailer manufacturer for the tab. She's also sponsored by Hoodman. She speaks for Nikon in their booths at CES on a regular basis. She is just a stellar photographer and a lot to learn from her. When I gave her suggestions for an outline and subjects, it's, what can you do more in your landscape picture other than get to the right place at the right time of year and the right time of day? How do you actually compose that image? So that's what I'm expecting to get from her. So it should be really informative.
Her
Well,
gallery of landscape photos, you can look at those on her website. They're astounding.
I'm excited. I ran across her on Texas Parks and Wildlife several months ago. That
Yeah.
was when I first saw her, and you can probably find that on YouTube if you want to see the section. It's probably about 10 minutes long. Very worthwhile to get a picture of what she's like and how she operates. But very interesting. Looking forward to it. Good call.
If you get the opportunity to go on one of her workshops with her, understand that there is this concept of a Mandy mile. It's probably 4 miles for the rest of us.
Really?
And if you look at the YouTube channel, there is a new piece posted recently, R to R to R, rim to rim to rim
Ooh,
Canyon.
of the Grand Canyon.
oh boy.
Now that's Kendrick and some of his friends, but Mandy and one of her friends will do down and back quite easily.
Oh man, well, she got to be younger than us.
Yeah.
Easy.
I just want to remind everybody that next month's competition will be September 2nd. That's the first Thursday of the month. The entry deadline is Tuesday, just before midnight, Tuesday the 17th, that is. So that's 12 days from today. So it's less than 2 weeks from now. So the topic or theme is the blues, and you are free to interpret that as you may. And try to get your message across to the judges so they know what you were thinking. All right.
And volunteer for judges.
Yeah, need some volunteers. So please step up.
If you don't want to hear me talk,
Yeah.
volunteer to judge yourself.
Yeah. I'll be, send me an email. I'm ready. I'll be at my desk waiting for your reply.
Who's most easily bribable?
Or blackmailable. I don't know.
I got
All
some
right.
photos. All right, guys. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Thanks for participating. Tell your friends.
Mark, thank you, sir. You
You're
make this
welcome.
happen.
All right.
That is a cook-off fix.
Okay, guys. Have a great week.
See ya.
Thank you to the
William, glad
judges.
you joined us.
Thank you to
Bye.
the judges. Great comments. Thank you, Ed.
ES 945. Cool. 06.
I need a hug.